All right, folks, do you ever feel overwhelmed with all the information out there about dieting and nutrition, for what works, what doesn't work? There's a whole lot of stuff out there. It can be super overwhelming. And so today at the whiteboard, we're going to go through some kind of really basic nutrition concepts. This one comes from the Renaissance Diet, and this is the one that I tend to introduce our clients with first because I think it's kind of easiest to follow. So let's knock it out. So when it comes to nutrition and controlling your body weight and making sure that you have enough fuel coming in, right? We're going to look at an overall scale of things, okay? And looking at an entire piece of dieting, 50% of their effectiveness is going to be coming from controlling your total calories coming in, right? So you hear this a lot about calories in versus calories out, and you hear a lot about there's an average 2,000 calorie diet per day per person, and I want you kind of get that out of your head for a second, because not everyone is going to be able to take 2,000 calories a day, right? That might be way too much for some of you. That might be a little bit under for some of you. And so we have different calculators that we use and that I can point you to online, where you can figure out your body weight, take into account your age, your height, your activity levels, and it'll calculate some different calorie targets for you if you want to increase your weight, maintain your weight, or decrease your weight, right? And so the first step is just making sure that we are hitting the calorie targets that we're shooting for. So if we're ideally trying to lose weight, we want to be in a caloric deficit. That means we want to try to eat less calories than what we're spending throughout the day. If we want to maintain our body weight, we're going to eat about the same amount until we're in a balance. And if we want to gain muscle mass or gain weight, we're going to try to be in a caloric surplus, meaning we're intaking more calories than what we're using per day. Okay, so that's the first piece. 50% of our diet comes straight from that. Okay, another 30% is going to be coming from controlling our macros. Okay, and macro stands for your macronutrients. So there's three major nutrients in your body. It is protein, carbs, and fat. Okay, in a nutshell, protein, we need that to kind of regenerate our tissues, our muscles, and we need that to repair our body. Okay, carbohydrates breaks down to glucose. This is your body's kind of main primary source of energy that it prefers to burn. Okay, and then fat, used for a lot of different things in our body, kind of maintaining our hormones, but it's also a longer term energy source as well. Okay, typically we try to target 30% of our calories come from protein, 40% of our calories come from carbohydrates, and 30% of our calories come from fat. And that's a pretty good place to start. All right, so starting off with your total calories, we break down your percentages, your protein, carbs, and fat, and now we have 80% of a diet pretty much locked in. All right, if we can knock these two things out, it's pretty flexible for most people, and it'll get them towards their goals pretty effectively. Okay, but we still have a little bit more room. Up next, another 10% of effectiveness can come from timing. And what I mean by timing is that when we have our protein, when we have our carbs, when we have our fat, can also affect our metabolism. Okay, so generally protein, you want to keep that steady throughout the day. So if I kind of draw a graph, protein is going to be steady throughout the day. Carbohydrates, we tend to want to peak these more towards your most active times. So if I'm typically training in the evenings, I'm going to have a slightly lower amount of carbs in the morning, and as I get closer to the evening, I'm going to uptick up and then level off after that. So I'm kind of targeting my carbohydrates to be used around my most active times. Okay, fat generally is going to be the complete inverse of our carb intake. So if we are going low carb in the morning, we want to go higher levels in fat in the morning. And as we get closer to the point where we uptake our carbohydrates, that's when we're going to decrease the fat in our diet. Okay, what that does is allows you to feel fuller for when you're in the low kind of carb time zones, and then when we reduce the fats here, it allows us to absorb those carbohydrates a bit quicker. Okay, and so that's generally in a nutshell when we want to time our nutrients. Okay, still got a little bit more room. All right, so we got 90% there. Another 5% is going to be coming from food quality. All right, so the types of proteins we have, we want to shoot for things that are higher in protein so that we can absorb them better, such as whey protein isolates, such as meat, eggs, fish, all the good stuff. From there, we go down in a level of protein availability. So we're looking at lentils, looking at soy, looking at grains. Those types of foods still have protein in them, but they come with a whole lot of carbohydrates as well. And it's kind of hard for your body to process that stuff out, right? So we want to stick to the higher levels of protein. Carbohydrates, generally during these lower carb times, you want your carbohydrates that are coming more from our vegetables, right? Things that are high in fiber. Towards these peak times when you're taking our carbohydrates, this is when you can have slightly starchier carbs, or rice, potatoes, sweet potatoes will be some good things during that time. Okay, fats, ideally you want to stick to good saturated fats such as avocado, olive oil, grass-fed butters. Those are all pretty high levels of good quality fats. Right? If we can stick to that, we'll get another 5%. Okay, and the last piece, we have another 5% that comes from supplements. And when we talk about supplements, we're talking about things that we know that actually have scientific based research that we know that works. Okay, so the couple ones I'll go over is caffeine. All right, a little bit of caffeine, 100 milligrams, goes a pretty long ways when it comes to your training. It can help you circulate your blood better. It can also help you be definitely more alert during training. And then it also can suppress uncomfortableness, and so allow you to perform a little bit better during training. Okay. Creatine is another compound that naturally exists in red meat, helps us perform better in terms of strength. And then the ones that I'll add in will be a multivitamin. It's a good kind of insurance policy to make sure that you're getting enough micronutrients into your body. And specifically, we're looking for magnesium, zinc, potassium, iron to make sure that we can perform well. Okay. And the last one I'll talk about is krill oil. So krill oil is a great source of omega-3 fatty acids, good source of fat, and for us, it also helps to lubricate our joints, and it's also a good source of fat that helps us recover. Okay, so in a nutshell, we want to try to control our total amount of calories coming in. That gives us 50% of our effectiveness on the diet. After that, we're going to focus on controlling our macros. Okay, so 30% of the effectiveness comes from there. If you got that, you got 80% diet down. So we want to start with those big pieces. And then from there, timing. All right, not so much of a big deal, but if you can have your protein steady throughout the day, if you can spike up or bias your carbs more towards your workout or your most active times, and if we do the inverse of fat, you'll be in the right track. Okay, food quality, we want to stay to the types of protein, the types of carbs, and types of fat that are going to benefit us the most. And last but not least, we have a little percentage that comes from supplements that can definitely help us not only in our training, but in our overall health. Okay, so I hope you guys caught a little bit of a basic understanding of nutrition today. And again, this is one of the many different strategies that we use for clients, but I believe this is one of the easiest and most effective ones for people that are starting off. All right, thanks for checking it out, guys. Post up any questions you have to the comments. Thank you.